There is a room in my house that I never turn the light on in anymore, not because the bulb is broken, not because I'm afraid of the dark. I leave it unlit because the last time I did, something in that room looked back at me. I understood, immediately, that I was not meant to see it clearly. I moved into the house in early autumn. Old place, quiet street, the kind of building that absorbs sound instead of reflecting it. Everything about it felt calm, stable, ordinary. The room was at the end of the hallway, small, no windows, bare walls. When I first saw it, I thought it would make a good storage room, somewhere to put boxes I didn't want to think about. The first few weeks, nothing happened. Then one evening, I was carrying laundry down the hallway when I noticed the door was slightly open. That shouldn't have mattered, but something about the darkness inside the room felt wrong. Not deep, not threatening, just heavy, like the air inside was thicker than the air outside. I stood there longer than I should have. That was the pattern I would come to recognize later. I reached for the light switch. The moment my fingers touched it, the pressure hit. Not pain, not fear, weight, like the room pushed back against me, gently but firmly, asking me not to proceed. I laughed at myself and flicked the switch anyway. The light came on. Nothing happened. Boxes, dust, old paint, normal shadows. I told myself I was tired and went to bed. The next night, I noticed the door was open again. I was certain I had closed it. I stood in the hallway, staring into the darkness, feeling that same heaviness pressing outward. This time, I didn't reach for the light immediately. I waited, and in that waiting, I realized something was wrong. The darkness inside the room wasn't static, it wasn't still. It was arranged. The edges felt too clean, too deliberate, as if the shadows were holding their shape instead of dissolving naturally. I felt the urge to step inside, sharp and intrusive, like the room wanted me to enter on my own. I didn't. I closed the door and locked it. That was the first mistake. From that night on, the room changed. Not visibly, structurally. Sound behaved differently near it. Footsteps softened. The hum of the house faded. When I stood outside the door, it felt like standing underwater, pressure pressing gently against my ears. I started having trouble sleeping. Every time the house went quiet, I felt drawn toward the end of the hallway. Not compelled, not forced, just aware. Like part of my attention was being redirected without my permission. One night, I woke to the sound of breathing. Slow even. Close. I sat up in bed, heart racing, listening. The sound didn't come from the room. It came from the hallway. I opened my bedroom door. The hallway was dark, except for a faint line of light beneath the door at the end. The room was lit. I hadn't turned the light on. I walked toward it, each step feeling heavier than the last. The closer I got, the thicker the air became. My thoughts slowed, organizing themselves carefully, as if panic was no longer allowed. I stopped in front of the open door. Inside, the room was exactly as I remembered it, except for the woman. She stood in the center of the room, facing away from me. Tall, thin. Her posture was wrong. Shoulders set too far back, spine bent at an angle that made my stomach tighten. Her hair hung down her back, completely still. She did not move. I whispered, "Hello." She tilted her head, not toward me, toward the corner of the room. That was when I realized she wasn't alone. The shadows in the corner were deeper than the rest of the room, folding inward like fabric being gathered. Something occupied that space, something taller than the woman, something without a clear outline. The woman took a small step forward. The shape behind her adjusted, mirrored, refined. I understood then that the woman wasn't being threatened. She was being used. The pressure in the room intensified. My chest felt tight, my limbs heavy, like the house itself wanted me to stay exactly where I was. The woman turned her head slightly. I could see part of her face now. Her eyes were open, wide, reflecting the light perfectly. Her mouth was slightly open, but she wasn't breathing. I waited, she said. Her voice was calm, empty. For it to finish learning me, the shape in the corner shifted again. I saw part of it then, a limb unfolding where there shouldn't have been space, a joint bending the wrong way, a surface that absorbed light instead of reflecting it. I stepped back. The woman did not follow. Instead, the light flickered. The room went dark. I ran. I slammed my bedroom door and locked it, heart pounding, ears ringing. The breathing stopped. The house returned to silence. In the morning, the room at the end of the hallway was closed, locked. When I finally worked up the courage to open it days later, it was empty. No woman, no marks, no sign anyone had ever been there. But I noticed something else. The room felt larger, deeper, like it had made space. I never turned the light on anymore, because sometimes, late at night, I hear footsteps in that hallway, stopping just outside my door. And I know the room is no longer empty. It's just waiting for someone else to stand still inside it.